Welcome to Register on Track for the Faculty of Engineering. We're so excited to have you here tonight and talk all about course selection and registration. And I have some wonderful folks here with me to help welcome you to the Faculty of Engineering and also help with course selection and registration. Before we get too far into this, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. So I know there'll be people right now on this call joining us from all over the world. But right now, myself and the other presenters on the webinar are joining from Mi'kma'ki, also known as Nova Scotia. And soon in the fall, you'll be joining here in Mi'kma'ki in the fall. And so we're all really excited to have you. And we're going to start the session with a land acknowledgement for Dalhousie. So Dalhousie University operates on the unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqey, and Pesco-Tumacotti people. These sovereign nations hold inherent rights as original peoples of these land, and we each carry collective obligations under the Peace and Friendship Treaties. Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982 recognizes and affirms Aboriginal and treaty rights in Canada. We recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki, known as Nova Scotia, for over 400 years. So as you're joining us here tonight and thinking about course selection or course registration and thinking about coming in the fall, I'd encourage you over the summer to spend some time and learn about the land and the place that you're joining here in Nova Scotia. And now a welcome for me. So my name is Catherine Robertson. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a student success advisor at the Bissett Student Success Center. I also graduated from Dal with a Bachelor of Science. My major is in biochemistry. And I just have some photos on the screen here just so you can get to know me a little better as we spend about an hour or so together. So that top left, that is my headshot. So that's what I look on a good day. And then next to that, we have a picture of my cat Lola. So she's kind of out in the sun. She's very confident. She's definitely our more dominant of the two cats because underneath her is Bambi. She's a little more shy. You can see her there. She's hiding under the table, probably to get away from Lola. And I have here their cat tower. So you might get to see them as we go along tonight too. And then next to that, I just have a picture of me gardening. So what I like to spend a lot of my time in the summer doing when I'm not working is gardening. I'm really keen every year to try and grow some veggies and some herbs and really be outside doing that for most of the summer. And so, like I said, you're going to be with us for about an hour and a half, because the last section will be a Q&A. So we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So if you're going through this and questions pop up, feel free to ask your question. We'll save them to the end and answer them as a group. And so if you do want to ask a question, you'll find at the bottom of your Zoom screen in that bottom bar, there'll be a button that says Q&A, and you'll just have a picture of it there. If you click that, the question and answer box will pop up and there'll be an option for you to type in your question into that text box and then click send and it will go to myself and the other presenters. And if you don't want your name to be associated with your question, you can click send anonymously. And then that way you'll come up as anonymous when we receive your question. So we'll all get the question, as I said, and then we'll hold them until the end and answer them live, or they might be answered by text. This session, as you came on, you also got a notification to say that it was recorded. And so this session is going to be recorded and you'll get a copy of the recording and the slides once in the next few days, so that don't feel like you have to get everything right now. You will have an opportunity to review it a little later as well. And this is our agenda for the session. So first, we're going to do a bit of a welcome to Dal and then dive right into course registration and finding your schedule, and then talking about supports for success once you do get here to Dal. So first off, welcome to Dal. We're so excited to have you. We're excited to be here tonight talking about registration and just really thinking about when you're going to join us in the fall or the winter. And so the first thing I have is a bit of a welcome from my team to you.
Welcome to Now!
And hopefully you're able to kind of see and hear and feel the energy and the excitement that folks have. And this is the energy that people have on campus in September or in January when you're joining. We're all so excited to have you here. We're excited to start the semester again, to get into classes and just have orientation and all these fun things going on too. And so really welcome to Dal. And when you're thinking about Dal, I have some questions. So like, when you're kind of interacting with different folks, when you're talking to advisors, when you're moving around, some questions just to think about and even bring up is, what are you excited about when you're thinking of Dal? What kind of made you choose Dal? What made you choose the East Coast? What are you most looking forward to when you think about Dal? And then, is there any challenges you're anticipating? Is there any kind of questions you want to ask before you come? Are there any supports you might want to connect with or know about? And then, as you'll find as we go through this, there are lots of different ways to tailor your degree and make the most out of your time here at Dal. And so whether that's academically and in the classroom and with the kind of school courses, or even outside of the classroom in your faculty, or even broader at Dal, or even the community. And so how do you plan to make the most out of your time here? What do you want to do to get the most out of it and to really be able to kind of enjoy it and feel out your interests? And so with that, I'd invite Sia to come on and talk a little about her time at Dal, and what she's done with the most with her degree while she's been here so far.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Yes, as Catherine mentioned, my name is Sia Ajay. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a current engineering student. Really exciting. I just finished my first year. It was great. Right now, I'm also the president of the Diploma of Engineering Society, which is basically in high school, you'd have student governments. This is like your student government of the first 2 years of engineering. So hopefully, I'll be seeing a lot of you around campus, and hopefully, I get to help make your days a little better. Last year, just to go over something like about me, some of my favorite classes last year were computer programming and linear algebra, which is probably the nerdiest thing I could tell you about me. And I'm so sorry. It's just the math really makes sense to me. And I loved programming and I really thought I'd hate it. So, way to let this degree surprise you. Yeah, I have a bunch of photos in my slide over here if you want to take a look at those. I have a couple of like me in formal outfits. One of my favorite things about what I've done with this year is getting really involved with things. As I mentioned, like I'm president of DES, our student society, but then also I got to help out with like women in engineering. And in the center photo, that was me at a conference. And like, if I can give you any advice, at least coming from me personally, I'm somebody who loves getting involved. I met so many awesome people, as you can see in my pictures. And at the bottom, I have a really bad bridge that I made in statics, and it was part of our like final project. It was so bad, but like just take what you can from the degree. Like meet people, talk to people. I think it's like not a degree you can do by yourself. At least you can't do your first year by yourself. Like you need community, and finding that community is so fun. But yeah, I think that's like what I've done with my first year. I want to say. Hopefully, I get to do more of that. I'm very excited about that. But yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And before you go, if a student wants to get involved or know more about the Diploma of Engineering Society, do you have an Instagram? Do you have a website people can check out?
Yeah, we do. It is Des_Dal_Eng on Instagram at Des_Dal_Eng. So if you want to follow them on Instagram, I definitely say do that. Also, once the school year starts, in the beginning of the school year, you're gonna receive a lot of emails, which is like an awful thing to take care of and like look at. And I know like filtering through my email like inbox is such a pain, but at the same time, you hear about a lot of amazing things, especially Des related. So I'd say try and keep an eye on that. And hopefully, we have some amazing stuff coming your way.
Wonderful, thank you. And hopefully from this and learning about all of the stuff Sia's involved in, it gives you a good picture that really whatever you're interested in, there is something kind of there for you. And there's so many different opportunities to engage in your academics and your school, and just Dal in general. And so now I'm going to pass you on to the folks here from the Faculty of Engineering who are just going to welcome you to the faculty.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin D. Turbot. I've either met a lot of you already, or I've corresponded with a lot of you throughout your grade 12 years or your application cycle this year. So it's great to see so many of you get to this point where registration's right around the corner. I can't believe it's June already. My job here at Dalhousie in the engineering faculty is international recruitment and support. So I'm here to provide you with the information that a lot of you might need to choose Dalhousie. There's so many options out there, and I've gotten to work, like I said, with a lot of you this year on just that. And assisting on inquiries like scholarships, residence upgrading, and first year course selection, which we're here for today. A lot of those inquiries on scholarships and whatnot don't also stop right now in grade 12, but they'll continue on throughout your degree as well. And also to help new international students get connected once they arrive here on campus. So I've already gotten to correspond with so many of the international students, and I see a lot of them in the that have attended here today. And I can't wait to welcome you to Halifax this September, and also just give you the resources to hopefully feel more at home in the faculty and get involved on campus. I have some awesome onboarding webinars coming up as well in the next little bit, so that all of you will be able to correspond there, and hopefully some in-person events as well over the summer months. So stay tuned for those. But again, it's great to be here today, and I'm excited to welcome you all to the Faculty of Engineering.
Jason, do you want to go next? I don't think you have an intro slide. Do you want to just
Sure.
pretend there's a picture of Jason now?
Well, the good thing is they don't have to pretend. There actually is a picture of Jason with movement and sound. But clearly I missed a minor homework assignment as I was getting ready for this particular presentation. I did my own slides that you'll see later in the agenda, but I did not do an intro slide. So my name is Jason LaCour. The most important part of my job for you folks is I am the first and second year advisor for students in the Faculty of Engineering. So for the first 2 years of your degree, you will be working with me on a fairly regular basis, and I can help you with any of the questions you might have about the engineering program, whether it's course selection, summer classes, what do I do if I fail a course, what do I do if I drop a course? Any of those kinds of questions you can direct to me. I'm happy to meet with students anytime throughout the year. And we are around all summer. I should point that out. All of us are going to be around this summer. I am taking 4 weeks of vacation, but that still leaves about 5 weeks so you could talk to me. So don't be hesitate if you have any questions to reach out to the faculty. We'll be around all summer. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Karen Hemsworth. I use she, her pronouns, and I work in the Faculty of Engineering on student retention. So all students being successful and whatever that looks like for you. I help connect students with societies, as it says on the slide, but also teams if you're interested in getting involved in some other ways. We have a lot of competitive teams that travel across North America to compete. There are lots of volunteer opportunities. I check in on you. I check on your grades and see if you need anything. And I also help the student societies to organize orientation. So you'll be hearing from me. You'll get emails from me with information about your group for orientation and some of the things that are going to be going on then. I'll also be working with Justin on some of the stuff that's happening throughout the summer. So you'll be hearing from me quite a bit. I help connect you with student services. You can obviously use any of the services that Catherine's going to talk about a little bit later on. But if you don't know where to go, I'd say 99% of the emails I get from students say, "Hi, Karen, I don't know who to go to. Can you help me with this?" So that's what I do. I'm just here to help you do well in engineering. So welcome, and I'm really happy that you're here today and looking forward to seeing you in the fall. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. I hope that paints a little picture of the folks here tonight to support you, but then also the folks here to support you as you start in September as well. So thank you to those folks for joining and giving an introduction. And again, you'll get a copy of the slides and everyone's information afterwards too. And now we're going to dive into really what we're here for today, which is course selection and kind of registration support. So the first thing is, everything that we will be doing today, all of the things that we will be talking about, can be found on dal.ca/registration. So all of the information all can be found here. So if you have any questions, if you want to look at something more, anything like that, you can go to this page and look at that again. And today we're going to walk through those 4 steps you see on the screen together, and starting off with before you begin. So before you begin, you're going to want to pay your $200 admission deposit. So if you haven't already, you're going to want to do that before June 7th. You're then going to want to activate your Net ID and password, set up your Dalhousie email, and then you'd want to check your registration status on Dal Online. And then at the bottom, I just have the important dates page, so you can bookmark that if you wanted to know when those key dates are. But the key things here is that you've paid the admission deposit, you've activated your net ID, and you've checked your registration status. And so with that, I've said net ID a few times, and it might not be something you've heard before. So your net ID is what you use to log into Dell Online, which is the platform that you'll use to register. It's also how you log into your Dalhousie email account and lots of other online spaces on campus. And it's typically 2 letters followed by 6 numbers. And you can find your net ID if you go to password.dal.ca and then clicking activate your net ID. So it's really important you get that set up. And then your net ID is different to your student ID or your B0 number or your banner number. So if you went to go meet with Karen, Jason, or Justin, likely when you meet, they'll ask for your B0 number or your banner number. And that's like B0 and then a series of numbers and what you can find on your acceptance letter. So if you went to go meet with one of them and they asked for your banner number to book, that's what we use as advisors to kind of look up your information in the system, whereas your net ID is what you use to access different spaces and online platforms on campus. So that's the difference between your two, and right now your net ID is really important to get activated and set up for registration day. And that's because right now we want you to go ahead and check your registration status. So before June 7th, you'll want to check your registration status, which will tell you that you are good to go for registration, or if there's anything that you need to do before then, it'll tell you there as well. So what you would do is you would go to Dal Online, you'd log in with your net ID and password, and then you would click Web for Students. You'd then click Registration, and then you click Prepare for Registration. Next, they kind of want you to double check. So you click prepare for registration again, and then you put in the fall as 2025-2026 fall and press continue. Now, if you do this, if you're starting in September and you check for winter, so if you start in September, but you check the term 2025-2026 winter, it's going to look really funky. And so what you need to do is you need to check for the term that you're starting only. So if you're starting in the fall, you just want to check for fall, and providing your fall semester, it looks good, it says you can register, you are good to go. You don't need to worry if you're starting in September, you check for January looks funky, that's okay, it's gonna look funky until you've registered for courses in September. So you would plug in 2025-2026 fall, that's when you're starting, then continue. And hopefully when you do that, you will get 3 green ticks and a red exclamation mark. And so if you see those 3 green ticks, that's saying, hey, you are good to go. You're good to register on June 7th. And then you're free to carry on. If you see any exclamation marks or anything funny here, you can contact the registrar's office and ask them what's going on. Sometimes if you haven't paid your admission deposit, for example, it will pop up here as another exclamation mark. But provided you see 3 green ticks for the and 1 exclamation mark for the semester that you're joining, you should be good to go and be able to register on registration day. So that's something you can go ahead and check ahead of time. So if you do see anything funky, you can check that out. And now we're going to jump into really finding your courses once you've done those steps to prepare. So before we get too into this, we do have likely some transfer students in the room. And so a few notes before we jump into the rest of this. One, if you do have transfer credits, or if you're expecting transfer credits, either you're coming from a post-secondary institution or you're coming from a high school that's done AB or AP, IB, A-levels, any of those things, one thing to note is that you do have to apply for transfer credits. So the process is not automatic. You're not automatically going to be assigned transfer credits. You do have to apply and request to be assessed and have transfer credits. So if you haven't done that already, I'd encourage you to go ahead and apply now because it can take some time. And then if you are coming from a different post-secondary institution, registration is open for you now. So if you are coming from another university, you are able to register now, even if you don't have your transfer credits yet, you're able to register. You might need your transfer credits to be able to register based on the prerequisites, but you are good to register. And so if you are a transfer student, I'd encourage you to connect with Jason and talk about what that looks like and what's the best courses for you to take and get set up with. And then finally, if you are a transfer student new to DAL, and all of the orientation info and the onboarding things that Justin talked about, all of those are available to you too. So please jump in, join all of the fun things in September. Please participate as much as you want to. All of that is available to you too. So just a note on transfer students, go ahead and apply for your transfer credits. And if you have any questions or want more specific info about course selection, reach out to Jason and talk about what that could look like. And then we're going to talk a little about workload. And so there are two terms that you'll hear at DAL. So the first is full-time. And so to be a full-time student, you have to take a minimum of 9 credit hours. So a typical course at DAL is 3 credit hours. And so to be full-time, you have to take a minimum of 9 credit hours. And being a full-time student is sometimes required for different things. So sometimes it's required if you have a student visa, if you have a student loan or scholarship or any funding like that, if you're a varsity student, or if you're living in residence. So if you're considering becoming a part-time student or being a part-time student, I'd encourage you to kind of check with those things to make sure you would still be meeting any conditions you might have. Whereas a full course load is like the maximum number of courses you can take a semester. And in your case, a full course load is 16.5 credit hours, which is 6 courses, because you'll see a little later that one of your courses is 1.5 credit hours. And so that gives you that total of 16.5. So that's a full course load. But there are lots of different ways to tailor your degree, and students have different needs and different things going on. So if you're not able to do that 16.5 credit hours, that's okay. I'd encourage you to connect with Jason and talk about what your options are for a reduced course load and what the kind of impacts might be. And some things to consider in that case is how difficult do these courses seem to you? How do you feel about preparing for 6 different exams or midterms or assignments? What are your other commitments like? So do you have community commitments, a job, volunteering, family support, all of those things? And then do you have is there a specific time window that you want to graduate in? Either you need to or you have to graduate within a certain amount of time. So just some things to consider if you're thinking about taking less in a full course load, and connect if that is the case for you. And so we'll go to step 2. And so step 2 will look at the course planning worksheet, which has some helpful information for you as a student, and then also talks about what courses to take in your first year. And so you go under step 2 and you click course planning worksheet, and then it would bring you to a page that looks like this. And you can click there to Faculty of Engineering to look at your worksheets. And so the first link there, the first year courses, that brings you to a worksheet that has some helpful information about the program and kind of tips and tricks and things to know. And then it breaks down what you are meant to take in your first year. So in the fall, we have the list of courses, and then same in the winter. And you'll see you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the fall, and then 6 in the winter there as well. And so that's what it's going to look like for you if you were to take that full course load. You'll also see here that some of these courses have a lecture and a lab. Some have a lecture, lab, and tutorial, and some have a lecture and tutorial. So each course has kind of different components that make up the course. And so those 3 components that you'll hear and see are lecture, lab, and tutorial. And so a lecture, that is professor-led. It's often, there's less interaction in that, and it's usually the largest section of your course. And so if you think about kind of a movie or a TV show where you see that stereotypical university where it's a big lecture hall, there's lots of people sitting, and there's someone right at the front kind of on a blackboard or a whiteboard talking, that's kind of what a lecture will look like. There'll be someone at the front, your instructor, kind of potentially using a whiteboard or a blackboard or something and talking to a large group of students. You then, some of your courses you'll see will have a lab. And so that's a smaller group of students from your lecture. And it's more hands-on learning, and it kind of complements what you're learning in the lecture. And that's typically run by a teaching assistant. And then you have a tutorial. So again, that's a smaller group of students from your lecture, another great way to meet people in your class. And this is typically discussion-based or problem-solving based on what you're learning in the lecture. and again, typically run by a teaching assistant. And so that gives you an idea of what you'll be taking in your first year and what those different words mean, the lecture, lab, and tutorial. And then I'm going to hand it off to Jason for a minute to talk a bit about your degree structure in general.
Sorry, I was typing furiously in the Q&A section. So the Bachelor of Engineering degree, kind of where you folks all are for the most part right now, except for some of the transfer students, is you're coming into year one. And the thing to know about Dalhousie's engineering program is that effectively for the first 2 years of the degree, you're all taking very similar courses regardless of the discipline that you will eventually graduate with. In first year, everybody takes the same 12 courses, and we'll kind of go over those in a minute. In the second year, so assuming you do all the first year courses, all 12. In second year, you're going to be taking 9 courses along with everybody else in the program. And then you're going to have 3 courses specific for your discipline. So for example, electrical engineering students take circuit analysis, digital circuits, and data structures and algorithms. And chemical engineering students take Intro to Chemical Engineering, Organic Chemistry, and Thermofluid Engineering too. So very different courses depending on your discipline. But effectively, for most of the first 2 years, you're kind of in classes with everybody else. One really interesting thing about our program structure is that all of the year 1 and 2 courses, so all 69 credit hours that make up what's called the diploma in engineering, must be completed before a student can move to year 3. So the program is really broken into 2 discrete halves. The first half, which is what you're going to start working on here in the fall, is the year 1 and 2 program. And then basically there's a door. The key to open that door is to have all of your first and second year courses done for the placement that you have. And then in your third year, you'll move on to a new degree program. And you'll actually go from being a Bachelor of Engineering student to a Bachelor of Engineering in Chemical Engineering, for example. So co-op will start in year 3. So for the first 2 years of the program, if you're wanting any kind of summer experiential learning opportunities, you're kind of doing that on your own. And it's obviously not mandatory to do co-op in year 3, but it's certainly a really good option, and it's hopefully something that you will all at least consider doing. A lot of our students do co-op. Probably about 60-ish% of students graduate with the co-op option after their 5th year. When you go to the upper division, the types of courses that you're going to be taking will be very different from what you took in the first 2 years of the program. So for example, it wouldn't be unusual for a student to be taking 6 courses a term in year 3, and every single one of them is in the subject of your discipline. So a mechanical engineering student is probably in 12 courses a year of mechanical engineering coursework. A chemical engineering student is taking specifically chemical engineering coursework. So whereas the first 2 years are very generalized, the second set, the years 3, 4, 5, depending on whether you do co-op or not, is very focused and specialized in your discipline. And basically you complete the first 2 years, 69 credit hours, complete the years 3, 4, 5, 69 credit hours, and you'll graduate with a Bachelor of Engineering in your discipline. Go to the next slide. So this is a probably very hard to see chart, but it's available at go.engineering.dal.ca/diploma. And what this is it basically breaks down what I just said about the first 2 years, where you have first year courses are shared common across the curriculum, and you can see them listed there. And in year 2, the fall term again is a set of shared courses common to all students. And then in the winter term of year 2 is where we kind of break things down a bit more by discipline. Everybody does 3 courses together, and then there's 3 courses specific for your discipline. And I've broken down those requirements by discipline on that sheet. One thing I will point out, just in case some of you have friends or relatives who have gone through Dalhousie's engineering program, the entrance requirements for year 3 for industrial engineering have changed significantly. for this year and next and going forward. So just make sure you're not relying too much on their experiences when it comes to thinking about what courses you're going to be picking in second year. Just check in with me if you have any questions. Go to the next slide, please. So we do offer 7 engineering disciplines, the newest one of which is computer engineering. And then we also have chemical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, environmental engineering, industrial engineering, and mechanical engineering. Like I said, when you start your first year, you are coming in as a general engineering student. You're going to be telling us what discipline you'd like to do in the winter term of year 1. Just gotta check something real quick. So can we go to the next slide for just a second? Okay, pop back up to this one real quick, the previous slide. My apologies, folks. So discipline choice will occur in the winter term. And the way it works is basically as a first-year student, you will tell us what your preference is for your engineering discipline. So you'll list the one you want the most first, the one you'd be second happiest with second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. We will then use a grade point average and course completion to determine what your placement is. If you want to take all uncertainty out of the window when it comes to placement, you just want to make sure you have a cumulative GPA of 3.5 or higher in your engineering program courses. And if you can do that, then we will give you your first choice of discipline. And I've put a link to kind of describe the discipline choice process more thoroughly. That's posted on our website. Okay, now we can go to the next slide again. Things to know. Number 1, when it comes to the winter term, don't forget to apply for placement. You'll have lots of emails from me reminding you to do that early in the new year. The other thing I'd like folks to remember is that all first and second year courses must be completed before a student can be admitted to the year 3 program for which they have a placement. So when you're planning your courses, if you don't follow kind of the standard sequence, just make sure you're working with an advisor to ensure that you're completing the required courses at the correct time for when you're ready to go to year 3. The magic GPA number kind of across Dalhousie for grade point average is a 2.0, or that's the same as a C average. Basically, a 2.0 average would put you in what's called good standing. Below a 2.0, you could be on academic probation, for example. And you need to be in good standing to receive a placement after your first year. And then you need to be in good standing both to go to year 3, and then you must be in good standing when time comes for you to finally graduate. So just keep that in mind, that a C should kind of be viewed as kind of the lower end of the grades that you want to be receiving in university, and the higher the better. Time management, planning, and organizational skills are super important in engineering. In general, you are busier than most other students at Dalhousie. Effectively, you're taking about an extra course a term every single term that you're in school. So the more organized and disciplined you can be with how you approach your studies, the more likely you are going to be finding success when you start. A lot of us, and I'll include myself in this, will kind of learn all this in our first year in university, but the more preparation you can do on that before you get here, the better. I would say have a plan in place for how you're going to kind of keep track of things, how you're going to be organized, try to do up a schedule of how you're going to spend your time. Try to implement that, fail miserably at that implementation, review what you've learned from that failure of implementation, kind of revisit what worked and didn't, and then try a new plan. Just make sure that you're always kind of thinking about how you're going to stay on top of everything, because that transition from high school to university is quite a drastic one when it comes to how you have to basically effectively monitor your own motivation and performance when it comes to class deliverables. If you are worried about being overworked and you're considering doing a reduced course load, I would really recommend having a chat with me sometime over the summer, just so you know how you should be laying out your courses, what courses you should be doing this year, what courses you can do next year, etc. So email engineering@dal.ca and ask for an appointment with Jason. I'll be more than happy to meet with you. In the fall and winter term, you folks are primarily going to be up on Studley campus, the main Dal campus, doing your first year courses. I primarily work on the Sexton campus, the engineering campus. but I do spend a day a week on your campus where I do hold advising walk-in hours from 12:30 to 3 in the Dunn building, which is the building that you will be having your physics courses in. So I've got an office up on the 3rd floor there, and you're more than welcome to come visit me on Tuesday afternoons. All right. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jason. And I hope that gave everyone just a bit of a taste of what to expect, both in your first year and second, but also throughout your degree with your disciplines, and then a bit of an overview of your first year and to kind of stay organized. And we will have an opportunity at the end to talk about some supports available to help with the time management and the organization, knowing that it's quite a useful skill here. And so now we're going to jump into creating a schedule. So that's giving you an overview of your degree, but then the courses to take in your first year. And so when you're creating your schedule, well, first off, you're not quite creating your schedule. You're more like picking a schedule that you like. And so in engineering, you will do block registration. And so what that means is that there are already kind of schedules created for you based on that, on the courses that you'll be taking. And so you will get to choose which schedule, which time you prefer, and you would register for that block based on the kind of times and things offered. And so what's great about this is that because you have 6 courses, it can be quite a bit of a jigsaw trying to fit them all into that week. And so that's all gone. They're conflict free. There is nothing conflicting. You're good to go. You pick that block and that's it. So it does make that process a little smoother as well. And then you don't need to add any other courses to it. It's kind of one and done. It also means too that everyone, for example, taking block 1 will have exactly the same schedule as you. And so it's a great opportunity for you to actually really get to know the peers and your people in your classes, because you'll all have the same schedule and can kind of go through that year or semester together. And so each semester there are 8 blocks to choose from. They all have exactly the same courses, but they just offer slightly different times. So you'll notice there's a bit of a difference in the times, but they all have exactly the same courses. And so what you want to do is you want to select one block for the full semester that you liked and one block for the winter semester. And so I just have an example here of a block and what it looks like. And I'm going to show share my screen and show you how to actually find this as well. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second and I'll bring you to the registration website. So like I said, that dal.ca/registration website is really key to know and use. So if you go dal.ca registration, we're back on that page. I think you've already seen a few times this evening. You'd go down to find your courses, and then you're going to click the course planning worksheet. You'd go down to the Faculty of Engineering. Again, here is that worksheet that I was talking about with the block. So that kind of useful information about the recommendations for a laptop to use, and then the courses that you'll be taking. And then if we go back to that page, we have the engineering blocks for the fall and the winter. And so we'll just look at fall. And this is kind of the template. So everyone will be taking this kind of course set. And then the rest of those courses will be put around that. So you can see block 1 looks like this. You have that 8:30 start. And then your latest class goes to 8:30. Again, 8:30 start, so they all look really slightly different. Here it looks like you have a gap at 10:30, whereas this one you have a gap at 9:30, for example. And you can see at the top block 2, block 3, and so on. And so those are the blocks. So you go all the way to block 8. And so you'd go through the blocks for the fall and the blocks for the winter and pick out one that feels like it would suit you best. And then I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen. Yeah. So once you've picked that block, you found one that you think you like and is going to work with you, you would write down the block, and then on registration day, you would go ahead and register. And we're going to go through what that's going to look like as well. So before June 7th, so registration day, just a reminder, you should have activated your Net ID and created a password. You should have checked your registration status on DAL Online and see those 3 green ticks and the red exclamation mark, and then chosen a block that you prefer and a backup block just in case. And so on registration day, you'd log into Dell Online, you'd log into Web for Students, you click registration and then register for classes. It's going to bring you to this page. You're going to click register for classes again and then select 2025-2026 fall and press continue. It's going to bring you to a page that looks a bit like this, and you'd go right to the top and you're going to select blocks. So you can see that just circled there. You're going to go right to blocks. And it'll then give you a list of blocks based on your program. So then you'll be able to see all of the engineering blocks. And so you'll find the block that you wanted to do. You would select the block and then you would press submit down in that bottom corner just here. So you'd go here, you'd select, here we go. You'd go here, you'd select the block you want. For example, this is group 1, so that first block, and then you'd go down to the bottom and press submit. Before pressing submit, you just want to double check the status. And so what might happen is that you might go to register for a block, but a particular section or a particular course in that block is full. So you just want to make sure in that status, there is at least one seat for every course you're registering for. So providing there is one seat in that status for every course, you'd go ahead and press submit. And so you found your block, you press submit. And so what will happen, providing everything's good in this space, it will turn green and everything will say registered. And so you'll see that green, everything will say registered, and you'll see at the bottom under total hours, it says 16.5. And so that's the number of credit hours you're doing. And then you can look to the left and you'll see a schedule. And so this schedule that you see on your screen when you register on June 7th should match the schedule that you picked in terms of your block. And so I mentioned briefly about making sure there are seats in that block when you look here. And so what happens if there aren't seats? So sometimes courses do fill up. And so if a block has a course in there that's full, I'd encourage you to register for a different block. So if you go to register for a block, there's not enough space, register for an alternative block. And then what I would suggest when you're looking through your options, and say you've picked out, okay, I really want to do block 1, take a look, and is there a second one that you wouldn't mind doing? So kind of just have a backup one. So if that first one is full for whatever reason, you're able to register in the alternative one. And I'd encourage you, it's not a good idea to mix and match blocks. So that really isn't an option here to kind of take part of block 1 and match it with part of block 7, for example. If one block is not working, you would need to drop all of that and then register for an alternative block. So if you see registration errors or if something's full, you're going to drop that block and you're going to register for a new one. Now, the other option too, you've registered for a new one, but you still prefer that original block. And I'd encourage you, if that is the case, to keep checking the timetable. So there is space that keeps changing as you go along. So if you keep checking that registration page, there might turn out that there might end up being one seat in each of those courses. So if you do have a block that you really wanted and it's full on June 7th, I would suggest keep checking that page just to see if later on there might be a space, because people do kind of move in and out of things during the summer. But if you're not able to register or you keep getting an error, you can connect with engineering or the registrar's office to help with those registration errors. But that is kind of the process for registering for your block. You'd look at the options on the registration page, you'd pick the one, you'd select it on Dell Online and then press submit. So once you've done that for the fall semester, you're going to go ahead and do it all again for the winter. So you'd go back, you'd change the term to 2025-2026 winter, and then you'd register for your winter block 2. It's really, really important that on June 7th, you register for fall and winter, because things might fill up if you wait till later on, things might fill up. So on June 7th, registration opens for fall and winter, and it's really important that you register for both fall and winter on June 7th. And now we have gone through this, but if you have any more questions, if you're not quite sure, if you want a little refresher, on the registration and on Dell Online, on the Prepare for Registration page, and the registration page, you will see a health. And so if you click that, that's going to bring you to the Dal Online Help Center. And it's fantastic. They have some really short videos on how to do just about anything we've talked about. So how to check your prepare for registration status, how to block register, how to change your blocks. All of that is there. So if you wanted to review this again or watch someone live with you doing it, you can go and watch the registration video there as well. But that gives you an overview of registration and course selection with your blocks and then block registration. And now we're going to jump into supports for success before your questions. And so hopefully you've already realized on this call, there are a bunch of people, even in engineering, here to help you. And there is a bunch of people at DAL here to help you as well. And so the biggest takeaway from this section isn't necessarily all of the nitty-gritty details of each resource, but just know that there are people available and here to help. So if you're not quite sure who to go to or you don't quite remember, reach out to someone and they'll likely have the answer or the right person to refer you to. And so that's the big piece. If you're not sure where to go, reach out and ask and get connected. You'll see when you come in the fall or in the winter that folks will be walking around at the start of the semester with big kind of yellow pins that say ask me on their chest. And so if you're walking around and you're a little lost, or if you have a question, feel free to tap someone on the shoulder with one of those ask me pins and ask them your question there too. But we are going to now dive into some of those resources as well. And so the first thing that we have is financial services. So financial services can help with scholarship and bursary funding, can help with your student loans, creating a budget, accessing temporary loans for emergencies, and then connecting you with on and off campus resources to help with financial need. We then have the registrar's office. So I have their contact information and they can help with admissions and registration support. So if you run into an error, if you see more than one exclamation mark on your registration page, they can help you with that. They also have your transcripts and confirmation of enrollment there. And if you have transfer credits or looking to apply, the transfer credit team is within the registrar's office, and the awards, scholarships, and financial aid team is there as well. So they're a great resource. I like to say that if there is something on DAL Online that you have a question about, it's likely that registrar's office will be able to help with that. And they're likely ones that you've already been talking to a bit with through admissions as well. Next, we have academic advising. So you've been able to meet Jason tonight, and so Jason can be reached at engineering@dal.ca. And some of the things that they can help with is making a successful transition to university life. They can help you understand your program requirements and your academic regulations to help choose your courses and your discipline as you progress through your degree, to help map out strategies to achieve your educational and career goals, and then develop action plans to deal with any academic or other difficulties. So if you're not sure where to go to and you have a question about academics, this is also a great place to start and get that support. Next, we have career services. So career services can help with job search and application preparedness. They can review your cover letter and your resume. They also can help determine what you might want to do with your degree or when you graduate. They also have career counseling to talk more about how you're feeling about your career, what might feel like the best fit for you when you graduate or your next steps. And then they offer a range of workshops on resume building, on networking, all sorts of things. And they also do, as you can see from that photo there, they do LinkedIn headshots as well. And so there are great resources you go through, and particularly if you're interested in co-op or working during a degree. Next, we have the Student Accessibility Center, and this is a really, really big, important resource. And so they work with students one-on-one to identify and help reduce barriers that students might face with accessing the classroom, exams, the space on campus or other spaces, and they work to reduce those barriers to your learning. And so they can advocate on behalf of and alongside of you to support your transition into DAL, but then also during your time here at DAL as well. They also can help with accessing disability-related funding and connecting you with on and off-campus resources as well. And so the big thing is, if you are coming and you had an accessibility plan or an IEP or a learning plan, any of those things from high school or from another institution, I'd really strongly encourage you to connect with the Student Accessibility Center now over the summer. Or if you're curious about this or you think this is something you might need, again, I really encourage you to reach out and book an appointment over the summer and talk about what your needs might be. And so get this set up. If you think you're going to need it, get it set up in the summer, see what it's like. And so then when you start in September, everything is good to go. You have a plan in place and you're feeling good about what that's going to look like. They also offer an orientation just in kind of late August, early September. So if you get that set up, you're then able to go to the orientation and learn more about the support as well. But really big, if this is something you think you might need, I'd really encourage you to book an appointment with them over the summer. Next, we have student health and wellness. So these are kind of like your family doctor while you're here on campus. They have medical appointments with doctors and nurses. They also have same-day counseling, so you can get mental health support. They also have a social worker, and so can work with you on problems of living. And then they offer things like flu shots, prescriptions, medical testing. You can all get through student health and wellness on campus. Next, we have professors. So your professors, they're the folks who are teaching your classes. And so you can find their contact information either using the directory or in the syllabus. And the syllabus is a document, it's kind of like a contract between you and your instructor. And so in the syllabus, they have information like how you're going to be assessed. What are those key dates coming up in your class? What kind of things are expected of you? What are you going to be learning? And then also how to contact your professor or your teaching assistant. And so your professors can help if you're looking for clarification or if you have questions about an assignment or an upcoming test. They're also great if you're looking to get more involved in their research or different opportunities to get involved in the faculty or what they're doing. And then just if you want to chat and get to know them a bit more, they have some really interesting career experience. So it's great to just meet with them and learn more about that and your options as you join the faculty. And so again, that contact information can be found in the syllabus. And you'll notice too that often they offer office hours. So just like Jason, where he offers office hours in the DUN, instructors also offer office hours where you can pop in and ask your questions. Next, we have studying for success. So as Jason mentioned, the kind of key in that first year is really staying organized and time management, and studying for success can really help you with that. And so they offer one-on-one study skills, appointments with study skills coaches, so they can work with you to develop those skills, to help you understand your learning style, to work on time management and procrastination and organizing your time. They also offer a range of workshops on things like how to manage your time, goal planning, staying motivated, how to do a multiple choice exam. And they also offer tutoring for support on specific courses as well. So they're a fantastic resource that you can use. And so really to develop those study skills, knowing that you're entering a year where those study skills are really, really key, these folks can help make sure that your study skills are kind of in a good place. And what's wonderful is before you have your first appointment, you'll do a study skills assessment. And so it's just a quick questionnaire, but it then gives you and the study skills coach a good idea of where you're at. And so your appointment is then really tailored to kind of your level and where your study skills are. So I'd really encourage you to connect with them to help you with your next year. Next, we have the Writing Center. And so the Writing Center supports students at all levels in all fields of study. And so anything that you write, the Writing Center can help with. And so they offer one-on-one appointments to discuss written work. And they can provide feedback at any stage of the writing process, whether it's, I have this question and I don't know how to answer it. Can we kind of map that out? All the way to, I've written this. Can you help review this with me? And so that, again, another great resource as you're going along in your courses. Next, we have the Black Student Advising Center. So they're a cultural hub of support, programs, events, and resources for students of African descent. And they offer free tutoring in bio, chem, math, and writing support. They can help you advocate and navigate campus and resources available based on your needs. And they can help support with finding funding resources both on and off campus. And then we have the Indigenous Student Center. So they provide a supportive environment for Indigenous students to gather, meet other students, and have access to supports and services. They also offer free writing support, bio, chem, math, stats tutoring. They also have various folks host office hours in their center, such as accessibility, health and wellness, and the libraries. And then they offer a range of different programming, some cultural activities and events, educational and informational sessions, networking opportunities, and can help you navigate and get connected to supports both on and off campus. And then with information related to scholarships and bursaries. We then have the 2S LGBTQ+ advisor, Olivia. And so some of the things that she can help with is accessing and referrals to gender affirming care, to seeking, if you're seeking name or gender marker changes either at DAL or provincially, can help with resource navigation and advocacy matters related to identity or gender expression. Can also help talking about your experiences, including any barriers you might be facing, and then overall advancing access and equity of 2S LGBTQ+ students at DAL and King's. And then we have the International Centre, so they can support students if they're thinking about exchange or study abroad opportunities, assistance with student immigration, visa and filing Canadian taxes, different access to different English as an additional language supports, and then help get you connected with the international community on and off campus. And then finally, I have the DAL U app here. So you can get that on the Play Store or you can get it on the Google Store. And that basically connects you to announcements, people, systems and information, and also gets you connected to your peers and folks joining you in September as well. So a good way to start getting to know people who will be joining you in September now. And so those were the resources I wanted to highlight today, but they're not all of the resources available here at DAL. And so again, the really big takeaway from this is there are lots of different people here at DAL willing and able to help you. So if you need or have a question or you're not sure where to go, the biggest thing is reach out to someone and ask, because there's likely the right support for it and the right person at providing you can ask for that. So if you're not sure where to go, ask someone and they'll be able to help get you connected. And now just to wrap up on registration, it does open June 7th at 12 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. So you'll want to be ready for then. Your deposit payment, so that $200 admission deposit, it does take 48 hours to process, and you do need to pay that before you're able to register. So if you haven't paid it yet and you're hoping to register on June 7th, you'll want to pay that admission deposit in the next 3 days. And then you do need to activate your Net ID and create a password before you can register. So your Net ID and password allows you to access the DAL online system. So you'll want to do that before registering on June 7th. And then if you do run into any errors on June 7th, that is a Saturday, but the registrar's office is open and here to help you. So if you run into any issues, you can reach out to the registrar's office by phone or live chat or email to get some support there too. And then finally, just as you're thinking of summer, we've already talked about a few different things that will be coming up. And also it sounds like coming to your inbox soon. So it's a great time now as you're going through the summer to start checking your email fairly regularly. So I would suggest at least once a week so you get to know what's going on and make sure you don't miss anything. And then we have the new students webpage as well. So if you want to learn more about coming to DAL, the new student page has a checklist, helpful tips. That's where orientation info will be posted, and then friends and family information as well. So a great place just to check out as we're going along in the summer too. And then we're going to jump into those Q&A and take a look at the questions that have come in. So just a reminder, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. If you click that, the question answer box will pop up and you can type your question into the text box and then click send. If you don't want your name associated with your question, that's completely fine. And you can click send anonymously and you'll show up anonymously to us. Your question will go to myself and the other panelists and we'll either answer it live or by text. And so we'll wait for those to trickle in for a minute. And so just at the end, thank you for joining us. Hopefully this made sense to you. Hopefully it clears up a little bit of the registration process and just supports and coming to DAL in general. I do have a survey that I'd love you to fill out. Don't have to do it now, I'll email it to everyone as well, just to hear how you thought of this session. But we will jump into questions. I see a few already. Okay, the first question, if I've already activated my debt ID but forgot it, how can I find it? That's a good question. I would suggest contacting ITS, so the IT support desk, and asking them how to find it. The next question is, how do I view the schedule blocks before I register on June 7th? So you can find the schedule blocks if you go to dal.ca/registration, you can find the schedule blocks there under engineering. I'm just going to type in some of these answers just so folks have that information as well. The next question, Jason, this might be for you. Are all courses at the same part of the campus for the first and second semester?
I'd say they're all within 5-6 minute walk of each other. You're basically ranging from the Life Sciences Center to the McCain building across the street from the Student Union building. So I'd say everything's pretty close.
Wonderful, thank you.
Except for the lab for design, that'll be on the Sexton campus. So that's about a 20-minute walk or a bus ride. And as part of your registration, you'll have a bus pass that you'll add to your DAL card.
Yeah, that's about 5 to 6 times in the fall term. Yeah.
Someone's asked, would it be for the first year we are going to be taking those extra elective courses? I'm not quite sure what this is about, so
Me neither. We need more information for that one. I do not know
yes.
what that is referring to.
Someone's asked, how do I set up my DAL card and where do I send the pictures? Yeah, that is a great question. I would start with the DAL card office, and I'll send you that information, but you absolutely can set up your DAL card now and then it's ready when you arrive in September. Someone's asked, were there any engineering specific scholarships beside the general entrance scholarship? Also, where can I see any financial aid I received?
So all of the scholarships through like most of the faculties are actually part of the general entrance award application process, which has a deadline of the February 15th, sorry. So all of those awards kind of fall into that. As far as your student account, that can be viewed through your Dell Online, I believe. The state of your student account essentially takes off your scholarship or funding, kind of splits it in half if you did receive a scholarship for each semester, and that'll be reflected there. But again, all of the scholarships, even for faculties, I think computer science has like a separate application, but most of the scholarships are part of the general entrance award system, which again has a February 15th deadline.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question is, can I register for classes on June 7th if I am waiting for my transcript assessment to finish?
You want to take that one, Jason, or I can answer it?
I'm not sure what it's referring to. I'm assuming this is for a transfer student.
Yeah, it's either a transfer or a student that's getting like AP or IB credits. I'm assuming if they could clarify, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation is if you are transferring in from another post-secondary institution, whether it's a community college or another university, that you meet with me. Dalhousie Engineering's transfer rules are very strict, and we are fairly limited in the terms of the courses that we can take unless you're coming from an accredited 4-year BEng program, in which case you really want to talk to me because we've got to figure out what to do with all your credits. For APIB, those kinds of things, my recommendation would be for now, register for your block unless you're 100% confident you're getting those credits. And as soon as you're 100% confident you're getting those credits, change up your registration to drop the courses. IB, high level, or I can't remember what the classification systems in IB
Higher
are.
level, yeah.
Higher level IB is the only high school transfer credit where you can actually get credit for Calculus 2. If you did AP or A levels, you are only going to be getting credit for maximum of Calculus 1.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Someone's asked, but I know it's already been said that it's not recommended to mix blocks, but could modifying even a single class period into a completely empty space in your main block be possible? It would help a lot for convenience and flexibility and chronologically should work. Who can I talk to about this? Jason?
You can, so the secret is you have full control over your registration. If you want to make an entirely custom schedule, go for it. You're just going to need to dedicate about 6 hours to figure it out from scratch. So block registration is good for that. That said, is it possible to modify your block? Yes. Should you? Probably not. Moving things around doesn't result usually in a lot of benefits, but if you're in a particular case where you need to be somewhere at 10:30 on Tuesday mornings, modify your block.
Wonderful. Thank you. I know folks have been answering questions as we go along, but was there any kind of common questions or common things that you saw that you wanted to address now
I
too?
saw one question just a couple times about the deposit and tuition. The deposit, for everybody wondering, is the $200 you all would have paid to be able to register, essentially. So when you got your offer of admission to Dell Engineering, it would have been that $200, and it comes off of your tuition, which is due at the start of each term. So they're different that way. The deposit's just what you would have paid to confirm your seat, and then again, tuition's due in September, and then again in January for the winter block. So that's kind of the difference there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. And then, Sia, did you have any kind of words of advice or anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, I was like trying to sit and think if I could think of a couple other things. One thing that like I think is very important to highlight, I'm trying to like put myself back in the shoes of like before university me. And one thing is like it's kind of daunting going off to university. I remember I had like I cried a lot about it. I was so scared that I would suck at it. I was so scared that it'd be so different. It's different, but in a way that like is normal for your maturing process. Like you're older now, and I think that like one of my favorite things about university is that it's so like you need to hold yourself accountable. So a lot of the things like going to classes or like deadlines are a thing that in high school you might have a teacher like nudge you about deadlines or just like let you know, hey, this is coming up, or be a bit lenient about it, whereas like in a class of like 300 students it's like harder to be that lenient with everyone. And so like that's another like big thing I'd say, maybe like keep an eye out. It's like just taking care of yourself, and like that goes beyond the classroom as well, like not just with deadlines or anything, but like finding things to do outside of the degree, like finding ways to engage yourself in things that you like when you get on campus. There's so many cool societies. I think that it's like so weird that I say this. I was involved in a lot of engineering things, and I think I didn't do enough outside of engineering. I love theater. I was part of like the King's Theatrical Society, and that was so fun. And I met a lot of amazing people there. But then also, like, there's the Dal Outdoor Society, and they do like walks and like go on camping trips. Like, there's so many other cool things that you can do like outside of school. And I think that, like, since this is your own degree and like you're paying this tuition and like you're coming here and you get to make this experience your own, so definitely like take care of yourself when it comes to classes and like hold yourself accountable there, but also like find things, like explore, like don't be scared to reach out to other people. People are so nice in university, they don't tell you that, but like everybody's so open to talking to you. And like I know that if I like so many older engineering students, like I just met them at events and then I would pester them about choosing disciplines because I was so lost in that for so much of the year. I asked like I would barrage them with questions and they were so fine with it. It's everybody's so nice when you get to university. I don't know what happens.
I love that. Okay, and with that, there's another question for you. Someone's asked, for a post first year student perspective, what advice would you give about taking the full course load or not? What would you recommend?
Personally, I didn't mind the full course load at all. For context, I did IB in high school. I think that that was a big learning curve for me because like that was like a bit of a culture shock. Like, oh, I need to like actually focus and like get all my work done and hold myself responsible. And then I started to like I used those lessons that I learned in high school, and like once I got to university, I really liked it. Honestly, I think that the novelty of it all as well. Like you're like a full course load when you're actually doing it isn't that much. Like your courses kind of like find ways to balance each other. There is a like when you get to university, you have a student advisory committee, and they kind of like are representatives within your year who can like get together and talk about like if you have like conflicting deadlines or like multiple midterms on the same day, like they could probably find a way to like ease that course load for you as well. So like there are ways that like this course load sort of like lines itself up really perfectly, and you don't need to do too much extra work. I think like yeah, it is work. I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel like I need to say that because like now that I'm done, I'm like, oh, everything was so amazing and lovely. No, it was work. It was work, and it can feel a little hard sometimes, but it's not like anything awful. Obviously, if you have a lot going on though, I know a couple people who did like reduced course loads because they were like on varsity sports teams or like they were doing track, and so like obviously if that's something that you want to do or you want to change it partway through the year. I know somebody who like did a full course load in first semester, realized that it wasn't for her, and then in second semester she reduced her course load. So I think that for me personally, I was perfectly fine with it. Testing it out for a little, you also have I believe it's like the first 2 weeks before you have to pay your tuition for all your classes. And so in that time, like if you're going to these classes, you're like reading these syllabi and you're like just like hearing your professors talk, or like you're talking to some other students and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to manage all this work, then feel free to drop something then too. Like there's absolutely like you have like people like Jason and Karen to talk to. Like you have people you can reach out and like find ways to make this degree really manageable for yourself. So I personally would say maybe start with a full course load and then see how it goes from there if you're like a bit unsure. But that's just like my opinion is you can always start at the highest level and then keep dropping. So that's my own advice.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
I could jump
absolutely.
in there for a second, is that okay? I met Sia when she was in September of her first year last year because she was a student advisory committee member. So with the blocks, we have a rep from each of the blocks to bring any of those issues to the group. We meet every 2 weeks. It's a great way for first years to get involved. It's 6 meetings a term. It usually ends with a pizza party. Unless Jason says no, but he's not saying no. So I think it's going to end with a pizza party. And it's a lot of fun. You get to know people from different blocks. So in orientation, you're going to get to know the people in your blocks because that's how you're going to travel around that day. And then further to that, you get to know people outside of that. And like as Sia said, being involved, you get to know people who are in the upper division who can give you advice or just information on how things were for them in the first year. And how they helped make a decision about discipline and how they got involved. If I had one piece of advice to give to students of any year, you will do better if you manage time well. It's possible to get everything done. It's not possible if you're not organized. So I don't want to say it's not possible, but it's a big, big help to you. I know Jason and Justin meet with a lot of students who had a hard time in the first year. We all talk to them about how a calendar is not a decoration, a calendar is a tool. And the more you get to use that tool, get used to it, the better you'll be at using it. It's a skill not everyone has naturally, but that's something that'll really, really help you throughout your whole degree and then into your career. So I just wanted to add that. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Karen. And
I
thanks,
have
Sia, too.
never not approved the expense allocation for pizza for the final SAC meeting of the term. Just an FYI. She says that because in addition to being the advisor, I'm also responsible for our office's budget, which is why that little jest was made at my expense. So now you all know that too.
And this is the recording. So yeah, I guess the pizza's been approved. So if you want to be
I think
pizza's
forever.
pre-approved.
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
talk in orientation.
Do you mind if I jump in on like time management real quick? Like
Yeah,
this
please.
is like specific advice that I know helped me. For context, I'm like the biggest procrastinator you will ever meet in your entire life. I don't think anyone comes closer than I do. And like if you do, that's really impressive. But one thing that I found helped me is like it's important to know when your deadlines are, but just doing work as soon as it's assigned from the first week. It sounds like really stupid advice and really intuitive, but this was probably like the first time in my academic career that I did that, and it was a game changer. Like in your physics course, you'll have these like self-assessments where it's like really easy, not daunting at all, but it's just like an example of something that you're going to have to complete like every week after like a week after you've learned a bunch of stuff in class, and like you have a bunch of chances to redo it. It's a very chill thing. But like just doing it the Friday of the week that you've learned all the content, it's due a week after that. You can just get it done early and then it's off your plate and you're not sitting there like a Friday later and like worrying about that when you have something else to do. It's just like a really easy way to get things off your plate is like doing them as soon as they're assigned, and like things do line up in a way that like it's pretty easy to get that done. So I that was my biggest help, honestly. If I like ignored, oh, I can push this off until this deadline, and still instead was like, oh, and this was assigned, I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. It might help somebody out there. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. And you're right, it sounds simple, but it does take a while to figure that out too. Wonderful. Well, I think that was the end of our questions. So hopefully we've been able to answer your questions. We've cleared up a bit of the process for you as well. If you do have any more questions, this recording will be sent to you along with the slides and contact information as well. So you'll know who to reach out to if anything comes up afterwards. But if not, we hope you all have a wonderful night, and thank you very much for joining us.